got the northern lights. Lights. Baby, you just kick your feet up while I kick back. I roll one with you by my side.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Bold, Black, and Addicted to Bravo, because I am bold, Black, and addicted to Bravo. If this is your first time here, my name is Nyemade, or That African Butterfly, and I just get together with some friends weekly to discuss different life stuff, but through the lens of Bravo that brings us all together, so we have a common subject to talk about. And then we also do recaps as well at the end of seasons of different Bravo shows. So today I'm excited. I have two friends with me. We are going to talk about mentioning it all or not. I'll explain more about that in a minute, but first, let me introduce you to the guests. I'll start with Shelly or Zell.
Hi, everyone. I'm Zell of the Who Asked Me podcast.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Nyemade. I'm Sneha. I have a podcast called Project Mindy, where I recap Mindy Kaling shows and pop culture, and I love everything Bravo.
Yes. Well, thank you both for joining me. And if you've been watching for a while, you've seen both of their faces, so I enjoy chatting with them. So as I mentioned, today's episode is called Mention It All or Not, because we've found that there are some Bravo people who do not like to mention it all, who like to keep it under wraps, even though they're on a reality show. And so the question is, like, are you obligated to tell all of your business if you're on a reality show? I'll start with someone that pops into mind when I think of this, which is interesting because we have Zell, but Giselle on Potomac. I feel like she very much keeps her life hidden from us. Like, she shows a little bit of her daughters and like, that's it. Everything else is her and other people's business.
Yep. I completely agree. And, it's so funny because somebody mentioned in a comment, like added me in a comment and said, oh, you act like when Giselle brought Sherman on, they didn't read her XYZ, and no wonder she doesn't bring anybody on anymore. I said, that's the actual point, not them reading her about Sherman, but her showing her life is the actual point of her being on this show. If not, then she needs to take a step back. Mm-hmm. It's not that Giselle and Sherman, I hate bringing that up because that didn't come, Giselle just didn't bring Sherman and then it was like, oh, ridicule. Like some other stuff came with that. Okay.
Yeah. And I feel like, Senna? Oh, you're on mute.
So the first thing I thought of when you said Giselle's the Sherman thing, and people are like, well, she got burned before, so it's, her right not to do it. Yeah, but you're totally right. It's just like, why are you on the show? And like double with Giselle is, why is your storyline everyone else's personal life when you can't put your own on? Like Ashley, I mean, so much stuff, but she's always put it out there.
Yeah.
So it's like, I just have more respect for her in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Ashley Darby is like literally doing her job. As much as I don't like the way she does her job, she is doing her job, because every time I see Giselle, she is talking about someone else in like the home repairs up until now that they're finished. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's always, I want to date. I'm interested in dating. Okay, girl, well, get on the Hinge and show us a date.
Right,
okay.
Right. Yeah.
Or just pay somebody hell. And the fact that she is so deep in everybody else's marriage, relationship, that's what makes it even worse.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you're not going to not show us your stuff and then be knee deep in everybody else's.
Right, exactly. And I just feel like when I watch Housewives, even though of course we know it's not real, but it should feel real enough that I should feel like the cameras are popping in on your life and showing us your life for a few months and then popping out. And there are some Housewives where it feels like that. And then there are some where I'm just like, I have no clue what their life looks like when the cameras aren't rolling, because what they show us is so very little of their life. And it's so curated that like, we have, like, you know what I mean? Like with Giselle, like what does she do normally? I don't like, what is her job? I know she tried to have like the business for a little while.
Makeup, skincare.
Yeah.
You had that, but then did it stop? Is it still going?
Went out of business. Went out of business. Not
right.
Can't,
so like, what is she doing?
Cannot be found. And you know what kills me is I I do. The only time that I actually like Giselle is when she's with her daughters. And I tend to like, if I don't like a housewife necessarily, I do still enjoy seeing them with their, their home life and not interacting with the women.
Right.
So I'm like, Giselle, you might gain some points if you showed us more of your life. But right now we see your girls one episode, the party, and then I see you talking about everybody else's business. And don't get me wrong, that's definitely a huge plot line of talking and being in other people's business. However, at this point, one, it's not how she's doing it is not believable. And two, you can be in everybody's business, but you also need to have some business of your own.
Right. Well, I think part of it is that she doesn't want to give them ammunition, because anytime, and it's like you both said, there's like the Sherman thing. It's because she finally gave them ammunition and they use it, shots fired, but that's because she's always firing shots at them. So I think part of why she doesn't show her stuff is to not give them anything, but then it's not fair. Like, why do you get to know all their business, weaponize all their business, but nobody can come for you because you refuse to share anything? Like,
exactly.
Cool.
Well, Sel, I have a question for you. What do you think about her making Jamal her storyline that one season?
Oh, Jamal.
Then people were like, you're using it for, like, were you even back together with him? Like, do you feel like that was showing some of her?
No, I personally feel like that was for the show, because what do we know of Giselle? It's that she was married to Jamal Bryant. And if I have to kind of psychoanalyze here a little bit, Jamal deeply embarrassed Giselle before Housewives came on. I'm not saying that Giselle wanted to get him back, but what I'm saying is I think Giselle knows that the housewife fandom can be intense and that he might get a little stung. Therefore, it's like, okay, well, you deeply embarrassed me, so here's this. And I think it's
easy.
Now
we all call him Pastor Holy Whore.
Exactly. And I also just think it's easy. She doesn't have to. Jamal is the father of her children. He is her ex-husband. They've already kind of been through the fire. You know what I mean? Even though it was before the show, you've already kind of been there through that with him. Meeting somebody new is hard in general. Like dating new is completely difficult. I can only imagine it's that more difficult when you are on a reality TV show, especially like Real Housewives. You know what I mean? So I really think that was just like, this is easy. And I don't care if Jamal gets embarrassed in the crossfires of this.
Yeah, no, I agree. And then, so when we also think about it with other housewives, I would say I kind of feel like Renna falls into that boat a little bit as well. I think that she, like, every now and then we'll get like a little bit about her daughters, and that Harry likes to cook, but like, other than that, I don't think she's really given anything. I just feel like my rule of thumb is if I wonder what you do when you're not on Housewives, then you're not really giving me anything. And I know she's an actress, but.
Well, with Renna, so like, I think back to, because like the news just dropped, she's off of the show, she's done. Hallelujah. Okay. But I think back to like Renna, and like we had her mom, we would see Harry, we would see her kids. And honestly, if there's nothing going on in your kids' lives or, your life, I'm totally fine with that. It's not necessarily that Kyle has had too much go on in her girls' lives or anything like that. But I think when things are going on with your kids, and you're sharing them, like Yolanda, for example, when Bella got pulled over for that DUI, she showed it to an extent. You know what I mean? She said, this is what I'm dealing with. I'm so upset. Renna this past season actually did have something with her daughters that she could have touched on. Her daughter got on TikTok and talked about, she had, a bad reaction to the vaccine or something. I'm still very confused by what she was trying to say there. Her
parents didn't answer the phone like her nanny did.
Yeah, they went, and she said all she wanted for Christmas was her parents to pay for her therapy. I was like, that's something to talk about. She really did not need to tell us exactly what was going on with that situation, but the fact that it did not get brought up at all. Like she did not say, you know, I'm going through such a hard time with the loss of my mother, and then me and Delilah is going through a hard time and she feels that we're not there for her. But this is how I would have accepted that from Rinna. I really would have.
Yeah.
But she didn't want to do it. She wanted
gave
to
us nothing instead. Yeah.
She wanted to spend her time getting into the Richards sisters business.
She's so obsessed with them. I literally just read the news like a half hour ago.
Me too.
Or did it just come out a half hour ago?
Yeah, it just came out.
Yeah, right at that point. But yeah, me and Nyemade were talking about it. In the beginning, Rinna was like a problematic fave. She was the perfect example of a problematic fave because like, was she always right? No, but she wasn't always wrong. She's kind of entertaining. You know what I mean? And then she let it get to her head. She leaned all the way into it. And then that's when that problematic fave behavior came back around to bite her in the ass.
Now, speaking of Rinna and the mentioning it all, so Denise was her friend and they were good friends before they had their falling out. And part of their falling out was Rinna trying to bring Denise's business to light that Denise was trying to keep private. So then that falls back into also the mentioning of it all. Like, is it okay for Denise to want to keep that private? Should it be on the air? Like, especially after it's outed, is it still okay to try to keep it private? Or should she be like, all right, here's what happened?
I feel like I sort of have a controversial opinion about that. I love Denise. I love that she set boundaries about, I don't want this stuff talked about my kids and, you know, bravo, 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 or whatever. But I also think Denise might not have understood what she was signing up for. And I know there were rumors that she was like very highly paid for the job and everything.
Sure.
But I don't know. And then it's like even more because it's Brandy and she's such like a fame whore kind of, but I do kind of think, and then we know Teddy was egging it on. There's so many things to Denise, but I think ultimately she did not understand that housewives meant you're going to have to be open about stuff you don't want to be open about.
Yeah.
So for me, and I agree with you, I agree with you, but for me, when it comes to the situation in which they were bringing up, that's where I draw the line, because I don't know everybody that all of the housewives have had sex with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think their sex life is a line. You know, Erica plays it up. They say, oh, Erica, are you having sex? Yeah, I'm having hot sex now. Of course. But she doesn't tell us with who.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Though she did didn't she kind of imply the Army Hammer thing, allegedly?
Though. She never said a name though. Yeah.
Right.
She played into the neighbor. I don't know. That is one thing that I couldn't dive too deep into, because I really felt like there were people leaning into it but we're never going to get the truth.
Right.
But with it being Denise's sex life, I don't think that, and as we spoke before, Nyemade, when it comes to the group talking about things. Now, if Denise wanted to talk to us like, oh, you know, I've really been exploring, you know, I am a bisexual woman. If she came out on that her own and, you know, wanted to make that a storyline, I think that is her story to tell. However, who Denise sleeps with within the group or without the group, I don't think that was any of those women's business. I completely agree with you. I don't think she understood the assignment at all. However, when it came to, they outed her. They essentially outed her.
I should have mentioned that.
You know what I mean? And so that's why it's one of those things where I kind of, same thing with like the Kathy and Rinna this past season. I'm not saying that I think Kathy is incapable of saying those things. I don't, but it wasn't on the show. And I think that you're bringing it onto the show to try and force something that I still find it very weird. And I think that it is going to be one of those things that years from now, people look back on and they really start honing in on how problematic that entire situation was, that group of women repeatedly forced her to, you know, come out,
to come out and
talk about her sex life.
Yeah.
I don't think that's fair.
Yeah.
Because what does it have to do with any of y'all?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that because Denise Richards is so sexualized in general, that people expect her to be just as much like that with her private life. And you can be a sexual person and still want to have your privacy, like that, like they're not mutually exclusive, but people act like they are. And so like, because she's doing these things on TV, then she must be like that. And I give like a little bit of extra leeway to like the people who have kids on these shows that are in school age, because it's like, I mean, even the younger ones, they're going to have to grow up and maybe see it, but it's quite different from being in like middle school, which is hell. I hated middle school. Middle school and high school, bad enough for the average person. I'm sure even worse for the celebrity child, but then a reality TV stars where they literally know your actual mom's, dad's business. Like I couldn't even imagine. So like when they have kids in that age range, and there's certain things they don't want to say or talk about, like when we were talking about Amsterdam before, like when Kyle didn't want to admit that she was smoking. It's like, because you have teenagers, of course you don't want to admit that you smoke. So I think too with the sexuality thing, like if you have kids of a certain age, you don't want that to come back on your kids.
Yeah. And and honestly, we could turn this and say we were talking about Denise and her husband, Aaron, in their sex life. I understand them not wanting to expose that. You know what I mean? I don't know much about Kyle and Mauricio's sex life. I don't know too much about, I do think that there's a line. You don't have to tell me everything into like, oh, if who you had sex with gets brought up, you need to talk about it. That's something very personal. If you choose not to say it, that's your prerogative. I'm not in your pants and I don't want to be, you know what I mean? But when it comes to you, like people like Giselle and Rena getting into people's business, and you can't even tell us what happened on TikTok with your daughter that was public knowledge.
Right.
That's where I draw the line. That's BS.
Yeah. And we see that too. A lot of times people will act like it's bad when something, is out there, but their cast member is horrible for bringing it to the show to talk about, when sometimes I do think they're trying to like give them the platform. And like it was on the tip of my brain and I just lost it, but like sometimes I had an example, but sometimes they're trying to bring it out there so you can say, hey, here's my viewpoint, like here's what happened, because everybody's talking about it anyways. But a lot of times they try to like hide that and pretend like it's not a real thing, and it's gonna be brought up anyways.
And honestly, to a certain extent, even though I don't agree with the lady, and I don't think she's guilty of like, I don't think her and her husband sat down and plotted on how to scam people. But to a certain extent, if Erica were to be like, if she just would have been like, I did it, if she would have just been a little more sympathetic, empathetic.
That's really
about the whole thing.
That's all we need.
You know what I mean? Instead of so freaking cold about it. Or I would have even, if Erica, I would have even been like, and I hate calling people cold because I have been called cold. Like I can I disengage better than any Meredith Marks. But it was like mean. You know what I mean? Where if she would have given me like I don't even know who I was just married to.
Honestly, if she had just said like, I can't talk about it because it's in court, that would have been better than what she gave us. If she had said, I can't talk about it, but because she was like, ask me anything, I'll answer anything, and then gave cold, snippy remarks, it made it so much worse. So she either needed to be sympathetic or say, I can't talk about it. But I don't know who her PR person was, but she navigated it so wrong. And it amazes me because I have always thought she was fairly innocent in this. Because like you said, I don't think Tom told her business. Tom barely let her talk when they were at group dinners. You think I thought he was bringing home the books to show her? Absolutely not. So I actually always thought she was innocent, but because of her attitude, somehow she looks way worse than Jen Shaw, who is actually guilty. Actually guilty, but more people are okay with Jen than they are. And Jen, by the way, isn't being sympathetic. She's just not talking about it.
Exactly.
So Erica should have just not talked about it.
In the trying to keep of the belongings also, like, if you, that was my thing. I'm like, you act like I'm like, you moved out of that home. You still went and got she's like, oh, I'm in a casita. I'm this. That's still $1 million property that you're in. You need to have some humility. It's not like they ripped everything out from under you and then you couldn't even go get a room at the Beverly Hill. You know what I mean? You couldn't even go get a room at the Motel 6. You still were able to purchase property.
Yeah.
A
nice home.
Exactly. And then the earrings of it all. I don't need the fucking earrings.
No.
You know what I mean? I have these earrings that my grandmother left to my mom, and I wear them on my wedding. If somebody were to come and tell us like, that was involved in a case, decades back. We've been searching for these. We need them. I'm be like, okay, here you go. Because obviously they're not what I thought they were.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean?
Because that's the thing too. It's like at that point there should be negativity attached to them. So why do you want them?
I would be like, do you want the thong I'm wearing too? Because he bought that on the credit card. Like, you can have it.
Right.
You can have it. Like the judge, Trisha Bigelow, she gave everything. She gave underwear back.
Yeah.
She and that's why I'm just like, it's, it's one of those things. It's a catch-22 to where it's like, okay, I don't think that you need to tell me every single thing, but I do think that you need to be, there's certain things, family, public knowledge, like, publicity things that, you need to, if you're going to be here, you need to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that also when I think about the cast, I feel like Atlanta for the most part has been really open. Like I was trying when I was thinking about this to be like, who in Atlanta has really shied away from sharing their lives? But I feel like they've all been fairly open, even when they're lying like Phaedra.
Kim.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, Kim. Well, she's fairly open.
She is. It's a lie.
Right. Now, do they all tell the truth in Atlanta? No.
I was thinking about this when you messaged me and said the mention it all thing, because I don't know if you guys watched the most recent season of Married to Medicine, but Quad was back, and we all know she's no longer married to medicine, my dear. But most of she just bought this huge mansion, right?
Yeah.
We have no idea what she does, no idea how she afforded it. And she spent most of the season sitting, they love to sit at their kitchen island. She was sitting at her kitchen island with her nephew, who she claimed to have living with her, but it really wasn't true. Like, we don't know anything about
that wasn't true?
her life.
Yeah, I didn't realize that wasn't true about her nephew.
Well, apparently it was like he was staying with her temporarily because she lives in a better school district, but the mom was around.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But obviously she framed it as, I'm taking custody.
Take care of it. Yeah.
So my thing with Quad, and this is my thing with when it comes to finances, because I kind of feel this way about Ashley Darby too. Like Larsa, for example, we knew she was getting divorced. We knew her prenup expired. We knew that mama got half. Okay. She got half. And she said, I put in the work. I said, all right, girl.
Yeah.
Like, whatever. You know what I mean? When it comes to the finances of things, like Ashley is sitting here co-signing on a house in the LLC, or buying a house in the LLC with Michael. And she's told us essentially that she hasn't spent any of her money from Bravo.
Yeah.
Girl. So, but do you not have any credit, or what is the deal? Because 2 + 2 isn't equaling 4, and you cannot, I'm having an issue. I don't want to say you can't tell me. I'm having an issue understanding that you have lived in this concrete jungle of an apartment with those 2 children. And now all of a sudden you need a family home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel like you could get a townhouse on your own, like Robin used to live in when the season first started. I feel like, and with Quad, I'm like, I love Quad. However, I'm like, girl, why don't you just tell us that you got money from your divorce?
Yeah.
Okay. Why don't?
Well, I'm sure she gets Quad does do things which I wish they showed a little bit more of. Like, she's on that radio show. And I'm sure she gets influencer checks for.
I think that, stuff. And she did on the show before have the puppy line and a book.
Yeah, I don't know if she still does that, but yeah, she had the puppy line. So she does things, and I wish they would show those things if that's part of their life. Because for me, if they're flashing money, it's human nature to wonder why. I hate when people go why do you need to be in their business? Because they brought us into their business when they said, look at my mansion. Because now I want to know, well, how did you afford that mansion?
Yeah. Because some of those things, because when I think about Quad, and again with Ashley, it's okay, you were married to medicine, or you were married to Michael. He had money. The man obviously took, because I make no mistake, this is how I would do it too. Okay, this is how I would do it too. If I was with a rich man and I was on the Housewives, I'd be taking my checks. Okay, and those would be my rainy day checks, and those are not little small checks, just in case this shit hit the fan. And I feel like that's what Quad did, because her ex was taking care of everything. You know what I mean? And then they're in Atlanta too. They live in a nice home, but like Atlanta property, as we know, is still even nice property. It's still, the price point is still lower.
Still low, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But you know what I don't understand? I don't understand why, like, well, first of all, I hate the whole gold digging trope with wives, because it's like he's getting something out of it, which is like they're only dating and marrying certain type of women.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that woman wants a certain type of man. And like, if they're both happy, why are we making it like the woman is the problem in there? Like, why aren't we giving the man just as much crap for only going after aesthetically pleasing women? So there's that. But what I also don't understand is how we make it like it's a goal to find a man who can take care of you, who can do all of these things, blah, blah, blah. But then turn around and like shame women when they get it. Like, so now they feel like ashamed to be like, well, I have alimony, or I have, you know, it was in our prenup. It's like, girl, wasn't that the point? Isn't that what we're all cheering each other on to do? Like, find a man to take care of you. And now you found one to take care of you. And like, we're supposed to make you feel bad because you had that. And they do, but I don't understand why. Like, I mean, I do with jealousy, but like, I say, good for you. Get that alimony. Like, what was the point?
Well, and it's also like in Miami, like, what's her face? Adriana does that often. Like, she will sit there.
Adriana.
I know, me neither. She will sit there and be like, Lenny is wrong. Fuck Lenny, da-da-da. He can't do you like that. He can't put you out of the house, blah, blah, blah. But then she'll say, I have to work for mine. Like, I don't get to go ask my husband, da-da. Okay, so what is it? Do you agree that they should have nothing just because they're breaking up with their husbands or XYZ? Or do you think that
no, she's just jealous. Adriana, don't get me started on this wormhole, hole, but she is just a jealous person who just like has to like her with like Larissa and like everything. It's such pure jealousy. And it's like, at your age, ma'am, stop it.
I'm sorry. When Larsa, I'm going to get a Brazilian butt lift. A meme should have been made of Larsa's face with those sunglasses, because she was like, just like, you have got to be kidding me.
It's just
you spent
jealousy.
all season
talking about it, because it's the jealousy. That's where it's coming from.
And that I don't like that she was talking about her body like that. Obviously, Larsa has had a Brazilian butt lift. I don't like that. I don't like that Larsa tried to tell us, like, you know what I mean? She would have been better off saying nothing. But I hated the whole, I work out 4 to 5 times a week. My legs, and I was like, Larsa.
Just be honest.
Okay.
The thing is, we like, even the people who, I feel like, I'm trying to think of the most distinct way to say this without getting a soapbox. But essentially, you can't make everyone happy. There's always going to be people who are unhappy. So people get themselves in knots trying to get the approval of one group when they already have the approval of another group. Just be honest. You don't have to lie about getting plastic surgery to appease the people who hate plastic surgery, because they're still going to hate it. But there's a whole group of people over here who are fine with plastic surgery. So just own your truth and be on this side, and don't worry about the other people. Because no matter what, because now you've lied. So now the people who are okay with plastic surgery, now they're mad at you. And the other group that you lied to be a part of, half of them still don't believe you. It's a lose-lose. Just be honest and find your people.
Yeah, because you can own your truth, but people are still not going to like you. So you might as well.
Exactly. So you might as well be happy with the choices. No matter what you do, you will make other people unhappy. No matter, like, if you try to be a certain way to gain all this approval that makes you unhappy, there's still going to be people unhappy with you. The difference is now you're unhappy with yourself too. So you might as well do what you want. And
exactly.
It's easier to tell people to F off when you're making choices that make you happy than it is when you're making choices you don't want to make other people happy.
Exactly. I have more of a problem with plastic surgery when people lie about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Don't tell me a workout plan that you did and then you went to the doctor. Same thing, kind of like with like acne and like skin issues, kind of. I hate when people say, like, they're like, oh, I have cystic acne as well. And I use this face wash.
Right.
But then behind the scenes, it's like, I got Botox, and I also have a dermatologist appointment every, once a month. And I also get facials no, that's not just the face wash. Okay. Right. Don't sell me a lie, because I'm sure people, like, if people like, I haven't suffered from like cystic acne or anything, but like, if I could have fixed like my hormonal acne back in the day with just face wash, then yeah, I would have, but that's not it doesn't help you. It doesn't help anybody to lie about it, because anybody with, you know, like for the example, acne like that, who if they could get those treatments, they would.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and even like with surgery.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that, like, there's a lot to criticize Mia for, but I really hate that they go for like the crater face or whatever, because it is like, yeah, you can get your breast done, your butt done, whatever, but skin is just a lot harder. Like I have a lot of hyperpigmentation, which is really common for like dark skinned women. It's very difficult to get rid of. And I just like, I don't know. It's just one thing that's maybe personal to me is just like, don't go there.
Yeah. No, I don't like the body shaming, but I was about to mention Mia because I was going to say, like, with surgery, it's important to be honest as well. So, you know, people aren't thinking that you look a certain way. So I did like that right off the bat. She was honest about all the surgery, maybe a little too honest about all the surgery that she got. Yeah. Especially when Wendy at that time was only being half honest about what she did. And then finally she admitted the full truth.
Okay. Well, this is what I'm going to say. This is what I'm gonna say. As far as Wendy goes, when it comes to calling me a crater face, I don't have a problem with it because of the situation that took place. If she would have, none of that would have happened, and then she just called her a crater face, I would have been like, oh, Wendy, like, what the hell? Like, no. But everything that took place, the drink throw, the like calling her ghetto, because I have a huge issue with that. Girl, fine, you can call her crater face. I don't fucking care. And with the body, I think that Wendy was getting there because I think back to that and I was like somebody with Mia who I'm so happy that she has no problem admitting it. However, those were Wendy's first surgeries. So, and she had the little coat on and was like, oh, she wanted to do a reveal. And then they were just all like, what else did you do? What else did you do? Obviously, yes, we want Wendy to get to the point. Yeah. However, I'm not going to this is your thing to reveal. Yeah. Give me another glass of champagne and a plate. Because we're obviously going to be here fucking while. Yeah.
Like, I mean, she already made cupcakes for them. So
yeah, you know what I mean?
I think they just thought she was like lying.
My thing with Mia is that might be fine for you to be like lips, nose, clit, this, that. You have to also remember that Wendy's Nigerian. Yeah. There may be some cultural differences there that she is like, I'm really excited that I finally did this for myself, but that internalized, you know, and I don't know how she grew up. You know,
honestly, though, it's not even just internalized. Like, you bring up such a good point, because we saw the other women go, what happened to your substance? Nothing. She's still a doctor. She still has all those degrees, but because she had a boob job, now you're questioning her substance and all of that stuff. So I think that Wendy is very, very aware of that if she's like, oh, I care about my body and all of this stuff too, that people are going to think like it takes away from my credibility and my intelligence.
Yeah. And Giselle had a tummy tuck. And she, like, the math is not mathing there for those ladies, because she had a tummy tuck. And then she says, I had twins. So did Wendy. Wendy had twins, and they have the same amount of children. Right. They have 3.
Those boys were twins.
Are they not twins? I don't care. They both
twins, but she had 3 kids.
Very close.
They both have 3 kids. You know what I mean? It's still, both of them have carried 3 children. Yeah. I don't care if you carried 1 kid. I don't care
if you carried no kids. If you want to do it.
They make that there, and you know what I mean? But like, for the sake of the comparison, I'm like, Giselle, you had a tummy tuck. Well, I had 3 kids. So did she.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
So like, don't shame it, but also like, if you're going to be on a show, mention those things. It's like Drew trying to sell her fitness line when she got lipo. Like, that's just not fair to the person who is struggling, who's like, why can't I do this as fast as Drew? Why don't I look like you had to, like, just be honest about it. Either do it and be honest, or don't do it, but don't do it and then try to sell something else. That's really messed up.
Because Drew's like, well, I had a jump start. It's like, yes, you had a jump start. You didn't start at first base with everybody else. You started at second. So it's going to be quicker for you to get to drop it with Drew before everybody else. You know what I mean? So it was one of those things, like, I don't really care. But I do think that Wendy wasn't saying, she got her boobs done, and then she wasn't saying, oh yeah, no, like, I just did some squats. She wasn't saying that. Yeah. They didn't let her reveal her cupcakes. Okay. And I just really felt like Mia, everyone's like, oh, she was so nasty to Mia. if I had a moment where I was like revealing this stuff around people and then you took it away and was like, girl, and try, like you diminished it for me.
Right.
Because you're like, girl, whatever. I got my lips done, my nose done, my clit done, my this, that. So fuck your surgery.
Right.
I'm like, I wouldn't really have the best like relationship with you either.
Yeah, I agree. And you know, one other thing that I wanted to mention as far as the mentioning of it all, how do we feel about things that happen while filming, but not on camera, that people want to talk about on camera? So there's a few different instances where it's happened. Beverly Hill at least has two, the very first season with Kyle and Camille and that argument they got in. And then they spent the whole season arguing about what was actually said. And then this last season with whatever Kathy allegedly said off camera that then Lisa wanted to bring on camera. It happened with, I just had the other example with Potomac. With Atlanta, Bolo. So when they were filming, but then they weren't filming and some things happened with Bolo that Kenya kept wanting to talk about on air. And then in New York with Luann, with the pirate, allegedly, because it was during filming, but then people wanted to talk about it. So like, do you feel like even if the cameras aren't rolling, but they're in the middle of filming, there's a responsibility to talk about it? Or do you think they're still allowed to have those quiet moments and they should be kept off air if we're not going to be shown them?
If it was during filming, I feel like that's totally different than it happened off season on TikTok or whatever. It's just different. And the thing with Bolo is they did go through that whole thing about like putting up tape and everything. So did they not know that you could like hear things? Like, I don't know. I think I've got Bolo forever.
At that point that they no longer cared. I think by the time they got to that, I think while they were sober, they tried to protect themselves as much as they could because they knew once they got drunk, they wouldn't care. And that's exactly what happened.
But in closing, I think if it happens during filming, it's totally legitimate, but you should be prepared. Like Rinna should have been prepared that if it didn't happen, people are going to question you.
So I think it's 50-50. I think that, yes, it's fair to bring up, like, as in, this happened off camera. We were at dinner. You said this to me and so was around. And that's why we have a problem now. However, we cannot make the whole season about it. Right. Because we are simply never going to get to the answers. We're never going to get to the bottom of it. That's like if this whole Deborah, Chris, Candace thing would have happened if nobody would have had a mic pack on or anything. Oh my God, I would have been like, kind of like the Chris and Giselle thing. It's like, well, we're not going to get to the fucking bottom of it. Okay. We're simply not going to get to the fucking bottom of it. It's his word against her word. Pick your fighter and move on. They're both saying that they're not lying. I'm going to put my eggs in a basket. It's going to be the Chris Bassett basket, whatever. But I just think that it's fair to bring up because we're still in filming, but at the same time, I'm not spending too much time on this. We are not about to, unless somebody might have punched somebody in the face in Salt Lake City. We're never getting to the bottom of it. Okay. But you know what I mean? Like, it's not, I can't spend too much time on it because if we're not coming with the receipts, the facts, the footage, I got to move on.
Yeah. I agree.
I have to move on. And, you know, I think there's a level of professionalism here to where it's going to be, if it's going to be, oh, I'm not filming with this person and blah, blah, then it's like, really?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, we were talking about Rinna and Kathy for like a year before the show was even on, you know, like not even during the season. And I didn't know that we weren't going to see anything.
Right.
None of us.
Yeah. We didn't realize it was all off camera.
None of us did.
Well, in conclusion, I think that we just are all kind of at the really do what you want. We want to know. Obviously, we're watching reality TV because we want to know. We are curious, voyeuristic, nosy AF people, and we want to know all your business. But the human in me can respect that sometimes we want to keep things private, just maybe not when you're filming. Like, just recognize if it's during filming, they're probably going to want to know. We could also use a few more Ashleys with their camera phone, taking it out.
They all need to have those. Why do they not?
Ashley had, and honestly, that footage that she gave us in the car, she really didn't give us anything. Like, we heard them screaming back and forth, and then like it was that. And the next episode, Robin and Candace made up.
Right.
Like, if she can think to take out her camera phone and not even put the camera on them just to record it, but Lisa Rinna at one point did not think to just open that phone app, a voice recording app, nothing, and record.
But I bet you now that Ashley's done it, everyone's gonna do it.
Everyone's gonna do it, and I'm happy. That's fine with me. That's fine.
Like, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with
I don't know. I don't know if everyone's going to do it though, because it happened in OC like seasons ago.
Oh, did it?
And I think it's better for Rinna and people like Rinna to just not, because so
to imply,
record it, there's done. If you don't, there's ambiguity and you can stretch it out.
Yeah. Like we were like what we were saying, season 1 with Camille and Kyle. We spent the whole season they argued about one sentence of a fight.
You're such a fucking liar to me.
I was like, but yeah, so I agree. I think you're right as well, that there are some people who won't have it just because they like to self-produce and they know it causes more gossip. But I hope that people also realize that we don't necessarily, that is a huge one. Heather and the Salt Lake City and her eye and who hit her in the eye. Girl, first of all, trying to draw out a storyline on an abuse storyline is really effed up, by the way. And second of all, like, just tell us. Like, just tell us or don't tell us. But don't keep saying, I don't want to talk about it, while saying, oh, but blah, 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 and dropping hints. Like, that is like petty. I said middle school was annoying. That is petty ass middle school annoying bullshit. And I cannot stand it. And she's driving me insane.
And don't tell me you wait for the book. One thing I cannot stand is for somebody to make me agree with Whitney fucking Rose. Okay. And she said last night on Watch What Happens Live, if that was in the book, she would have had to rewrite it. Okay.
Yeah. So someone has gone through the book and it's not in there.
No, it's not in there.
Yeah.
The book was done by the time that happened.
I just don't know why Heather's so full of shit this season. I mean, I've always thought she was on some level. That's why I never got why everyone loved her. Like, I liked her. There are things about her I genuinely liked, especially like her logic sometimes in dealing with certain situations. But I could tell there was a level of bullshit, and she's definitely showing it this season, and it's annoying.
I think it's because somebody went off script. And at this point, I don't know if it was Heather or if it was Whitney, but one person in Bad Heather went off of what they said that they were going to do this season, and it threw everything off.
It's probably Whitney, because I think so Heather too. Can't stand Lisa. Heather has like a burning aching hate for Lisa. It's so weird. Like, from the first season I clocked it. Like, when Lisa didn't say hi to her and she's like, and she didn't say hi to me, and like she's like obsessed with Lisa, like mean girl voice, like she's like obsessed with me. That's how I feel about her.
I think so too. Weird. Because Whitney was to an extent too, because Whitney even said, like, she's like, I want to be friends with Heather or with Lisa. I always want to be friends with Lisa. But the thing about it is, I think, because I will never forget this, Whitney said when they first all got casted, Lisa was talking shit. And she was like, as far as Whitney was pertained, she said, why would we cast her? Like, why did she get cast? She's not interesting. I get Mean Girl from Lisa Barlow, and that is something that I cannot get behind. Like, I really think that in her core that she's not nice. And I think that she thinks that she is the top tier. So I can see them casting for the show. And I personally think that Lisa might have said something about Heather's maybe like appearance and, you know, in general, like, oh, why is she going to be on the show? Like, oh, is this really what we're doing? Yeah. Oh, they really got bottom barrel. And I think that really hurt Heather's feelings. It's not about the woo, good time girl. It's not about that. I do think that beforehand, Lisa said something that really hurt Heather's feelings, and we goddamn know she cannot communicate.
Yeah.
There seems to be so much going on behind the scenes in Salt Lake City. It's honestly confusing for me to watch.
Yeah. So. It's like that sometimes. I feel like, though, and not to be a Lisa apologist, I feel like Lisa is a nice person. And I feel like she's just one of those people who very much loves herself. And like, if you don't like her, that's fine. And I feel like if you're okay with that and you like her, it's great. If you don't, it comes across really like condescending and like whatever. And I think more so that she said something about Heather. I would find it more believable that she ignored Heather in some way, and Heather felt very slighted by it. And I also feel that Heather, because Heather's admitted when she was all in the Mormon thing, her sense of pride came from feeling like she was better than everybody else.
Yeah.
So in her mind, Lisa must be like that. Like Lisa must feel like she is better than everyone. And now that Heather no longer feels like she's on that level because Lisa doesn't like her, she assumes it's because Lisa thinks that she's better than her. Versus where I think that it's just like Lisa just doesn't give a fuck about her. I mean, now that they're on the show and have to deal with all this stuff, they do. But I could easily see before that her just not caring. But in Heather's mind, it's interpreted as she thinks she's better than me, and she can't stand that.
Yeah, it's a full breakdown too, because the fact that like Lisa wasn't born Mormon. She kind of treated it. I can't say she treated it. It came off to me as she treated it as like this is something I've decided to do, and I'm gonna have a tequila business. And for somebody like Heather who followed the rules so strictly, because she really believed it made her, and then like Lisa gets all this praise and she's allowed to kind of break the rules and bend the rules.
There's nothing worse than being a rule
Mormon
follower.
I think that hurts
me off.
I think it hurts Heather as well. And so that's why I don't have a dog in the race in Salt Lake City, but that Mormonism, the religious aspect of it all, especially that religion, I'm like, I feel like there's some deep-rooted stuff that like they need to work through, because it does. I grew up with, there's like a small Mormon following where I grew up, and I had a couple friends that were Mormon. They all left the church, and it was like, it is like that. Like you stop talking to people that you have been friends with forever. And it's a lot.
It's a lot. I, because I studied religion a little bit and I grew up super Christian, I know that it's a lot on our side too, depending on where you are in it and where it falls, and if you're evangelical or bad, like, so it's all a lot, which is why we have the show to talk about a lot of things. And now I just realized maybe we should do an episode on religion. But I thank you both for joining me today, though, to talk about Mention It All. It was fun chatting. Please tell everybody again where they can find you.
I am Zell. You can find me on Instagram at Who Asked Me Podcast, and on TikTok at Who Asked Zell. That's Who Asked and then SELLE.
You can find me on Instagram at Project Mindy. I forgot what I was going to say, but thank you so much for having me. I love talking about this stuff.
You're welcome. Thank you both for joining, and thank you all for watching at home. Have a great night.
Bye.
Maybe you just kick your feet up while I kick back. I roll one with you by my side.